Imagine a military academy where graduation rates just, well, they don't matter at all. Because the official entrance exam is designed to intentionally murder 20% of the freshman class before breakfast.
Right, yeah. It's not exactly your typical freshman orientation.
No, not at all. You aren't stressing about, like, picking a major or getting a good dorm room. You are solely focused on surviving an institutional meat grinder that considers your death a perfectly acceptable administrative outcome.
It's just a phenomenal premise, honestly. It fundamentally alters how we view military training and, well, societal values as a whole.
Yeah.
Because you are stepping into a system where survival isn't just about passing a physical test, you know? It's about proving you are worthy of bonding with a massive, fire-breathing apex predator.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We are exploring the high-stakes, just absolutely ruthless universe of Bastiath War College, which is set in the Kingdom of Navarre, from the fantasy novel Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros.
It's such a rich world to dig into.
It really is. And now, since you are likely familiar with the world of Basgiath, we aren't going to just sit here and summarize the plot for you. We are going to deconstruct the actual mechanisms of this society.
Right, the real nuts and bolts of it.
Exactly. We want to look at the tactics, the hidden geopolitical motives, and the underlying logic of a military structure where the absolute governing rule of life is this: a dragon without its rider is a tragedy. A rider without their dragon is dead.
Which is such a heavy rule. It's a society built entirely around a perpetual state of war, you know? And the source material offers this fascinating case study in how a 400-year conflict can just fundamentally rewrite a nation's morality.
Turning extreme cruelty into, like, state-sponsored pragmatism.
Precisely.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand the architecture of this society, we have to look at the deeply reluctant candidate thrown right into the center of it on conscription day.
Yeah.
And that's Violet Sorrengail.
Yes.
Violet is 20 years old. And physiologically, I mean, she is the absolute antithesis of a dragon rider. She has a connective tissue condition.
Right.
Her hair loses pigment, so it fades to silver. But the real issue, the dangerous issue, is that her joints sprain and subluxate easily. Her ligaments literally struggle to hold her skeleton together under stress.
And that physical reality is so crucial when we examine the actual mechanics of what these riders do. Bonding a dragon isn't just some spiritual or telepathic connection.
No, it's very physical.
It is a brutally kinetic physical act.
Right. If you are strapping yourself to the back of a multi-ton biological jet fighter pulling insane G-forces during aerial combat, you need immense grip strength just to hold onto the scale.
Exactly.
So having hypermobile, fragile joints in that specific aerodynamic environment, I mean, it isn't just an inconvenience, it is a death sentence.
It really is.
It's like spending your whole life studying for a PhD in history, only to be drafted into a Navy SEALs Hell Week on day one. Because Violet trained her entire life to enter the scribe quadrant, the historians and scholars of this military structure.
And yet she is forced into the Riders Quadrant by her own mother, General Sorrengail, the commanding general of Basgiath.
Which is just, wow.
No, but this dynamic is our first real glimpse into the geopolitical reality of Navarre. You really have to look at the macro-level conflict to understand the micro-level cruelty of a mother sending her fragile daughter to likely die.
Right, because context is everything here.
Exactly. The Kingdom of Navarre has been locked in a ceaseless war with the neighboring kingdom of Poromil for 4 centuries.
Which totally recontextualizes the mother's coldness, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
If the nation falls, everyone dies anyway. So General Sorrengail is treating her daughter not as a child, but as an asset allocation in a total war economy. I mean, the general literally wields storms through her dragon's magic.
Yeah, she's intense.
Very intense. So she's entirely bought into this hyper-militarized mindset. And she's already lost her son, Brennan, in a rebellion, right? And her eldest daughter, Mira, is a legendary rider.
Who actually tries to help Violet survive by giving her this illegal dragon-scale corset made from her own dragon, Time.
Right, a little bit of hidden armor.
Yeah. Going back to the war, the overarching conflict is fundamentally a war over resources and survival, which creates an environment where physical weakness is viewed as a liability to the entire nation.
How so, exactly?
Well, Navarre is geographically mountainous. They have natural defenses, abundant ore, and timber. But Poromil, their enemy, possesses arable plains, textiles, and critically unique crystalline gems that can amplify magic.
Okay. So you have a deeply entrenched, militarized mountain kingdom utilizing dragons, fighting a relentless war against a plains kingdom that utilizes griffin riders and desperately needs access to Navarian magic.
Exactly that. It is a forever war. 400 years of attrition warfare means the Navarrian military leadership just cannot afford to dedicate resources to individuals who cannot actively contribute to the defense grid.
So General Sorrengail's decision to force Violet onto the parapet is, it's just a brutal reflection of that national ideology.
Yes, and that ideology is literally baked into the architecture of the college, starting with their entrance exam.
Right. Because like we mentioned, Mira gives Violet that illegal dragon scale armor, but, well, armor doesn't help you with gravity.
No, it definitely does not.
Which brings us to the infamous parapet. Just to paint a picture for you, it's a stone bridge, 200 feet in the air, connecting the defensive turrets to the Riders' citadel.
And it is terrifying.
It's only 18 inches wide, and on this particular day, it is slick with rain and howling wind. Out of the candidates, 67 die on this day alone.
Just fall to their deaths.
Yeah, and I have to push back on the military logic of that strategy, though.
Okay, let's hear it.
Why would an army fighting a 400-year war willingly design an entrance exam that intentionally kills off roughly 20% of its volunteer recruits before they even take a single class? I mean, from an HR perspective, throwing away a fifth of your manpower seems incredibly short-sighted.
I get that. And it does seem short-sighted until you consider the specific weapon system those recruits are expected to operate.
The dragons.
Right. What's fascinating here is the underlying mechanism of that specific trial. The parapet isn't merely a physical test of balance, it's a highly calibrated psychological filter.
Interesting.
The military leadership understands a fundamental truth about dragons. If a recruit panics on a stationary 18-inch stone bridge in the rain, their nervous system will absolutely short-circuit on the back of an apex predator flying through enemy fire.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
Fear is a catastrophic liability in aerial combat. So the parapet is designed to weed out those whose fear overrides their cognitive function, ensuring the dragons are only exposed to candidates with superior emotional regulation.
So instead of just a mindless meat grinder, it's more like a stress test in an aerospace wind tunnel.
Right.
They're intentionally applying maximum environmental pressure to find the microfractures in a recruit's psyche.
Exactly.
And that is exactly where Violet excels. She knows her physical limitations, so she relies on micro-optimizations.
Yes, she does.
Like before stepping onto the wet stone, she trades her flat-soled scribe boot for a fellow candidate's rubber-bottomed rider boot. Rhiannon, right?
Right, Rhiannon.
She secures a fractional mechanical advantage.
But her most impressive tactic is entirely internal.
Oh, the reciting.
Yeah. To survive the paralyzing fear on the bridge, she uses her scribe training to hack her own physiological response. She actively locks down her panic by reciting complex geopolitical facts out loud.
Right.
As she walks the ledge, she lists the provinces of Navarre, the geography of Bormel, the intricate details of the trade agreement of Rassan.
She basically floods her brain with logical data to forcibly lower her heart rate. It is such a brilliant display of nervous system regulation.
And it really is.
But the environmental design of the bridge isn't the only threat up there, because the college actively cultivates a hyper-aggressive culture among the recruits themselves. Which brings us to Jack Barlow.
Ugh, Jack. He embodies the absolute brute force mentality the Riders Quadrant often attracts.
He's terrifying.
He views Violet's physical fragility as a personal insult to the military institution. I mean, he actually murders another candidate on the bridge simply for being in his way.
Literally just pushes him off.
Yeah, and then he targets Violet.
But this is where Violet proves that a scholar's mind is a weapon. Jack chases her across the end of the parapet. She drops from the ledge onto the courtyard just as he lunges, and she pulls a dagger.
Right.
But she doesn't just threaten him with it. She points the blade directly at his groin and starts quoting the administrative rule book, the Codex.
Which is such a great moment. She recites the exact statute proving that it is illegal for a cadet to attack another cadet outside of a sparring ring while in formation.
She realizes she cannot win a physical contest of strength against him, so she forces him into a bureaucratic one.
Yeah.
She weaponizes the law to save her own life, putting the upperclassmen in a position where they have to intervene to uphold the integrity of the Codex. I mean, she survives the first day by mastering the system's rules better than the people who built it.
It is a complete masterclass in asymmetrical survival. But, as resourceful as she is, Navigating the aggression of other humans is entirely different from navigating the actual power source of this kingdom.
Oh, man. Here's where it gets really interesting. The arrival of the dragons.
Yes.
The sheer scale and terror of these creatures is mind-bending. They don't just land gracefully on a designated runway, right?
No, not at all.
They land directly on the fortress battlement. The walls of the citadel are 10 feet thick, and when the dragons use them as perches, the solid stone literally crumbles under their talons.
It is a visceral display of absolute dominance. The military structure of Navarre might dictate the daily lives of the cadets, but the dragons, they are the ultimate arbiters of justice and worthiness.
They absolutely are. I mean, there's that scene where a terrified new cadet loses his nerve and makes a run for the safety of the keep, and a red sword-tailed dragon simply opens its mouth and incinerates the kid into a pile of ash on the gravel.
Brutal.
No court-martial, no second chances.
Yeah.
As the third-year wing leader, Zayden Rierson tells the recruits quite clearly, to them, you're just the prey.
And this lethal dynamic introduces the symbiotic relationship that makes Riders the most formidable military asset on the continent, because the magic system in this world isn't innate to the humans.
Right.
It is entirely derived from the dragons.
Right.
When a dragon chooses to bond with a human, they channel a portion of their immense magical power into that rider.
But the mechanism of how that magic manifests is what I find so compelling. It doesn't just hand the rider a generic fireball spell. The raw magic filters through the rider's unique psychology to create what they call a signet, a highly specialized magical ability.
Precisely. The magic acts as a conduit for the rider's deepest intrinsic needs and core personality traits.
Give us an example.
Well, consider General Melgren, the supreme commander of all Navarrian forces. His absolute core need is tactical control over the battlefield.
Right, so his signet manifests as foresight. He can literally see the outcome of a battle before it even happens.
Exactly.
I mean, how do you defeat a general who already knows your every flanking maneuver? It is the ultimate strategic advantage.
It really is. And then you look at someone like Dane Ados. He's a second-year squad leader and Violet's childhood friend.
Oh, Dane. Yeah.
Dane is fundamentally obsessed with rules, protocol, and uncovering the objective truth. Therefore, the magic filters through that obsession, and his signet manifests as retrocognition.
Freaks.
By simply touching a person's temples, he can read their recent memories.
It is such a terrifying intelligence-gathering tool. He actually wears a classified patch for it, because you cannot keep secrets from a man who can literally watch your own memories.
Nope.
But while these individual signets are game changers on a tactical level, the magic of the dragons operates on a much more vital macro level for the kingdom, doesn't it?
Yes, the wards. The dragons are the foundational infrastructure of Navarre's national defense. The collective power generated by the dragons residing in the Vale is what sustains the magical wards.
And those wards are essentially an invisible continent-spanning barrier protecting the borders of Navarre.
Exactly. They actively neutralize the magic of the Poromial Griffin Riders, making it impossible for the enemy to utilize their own offensive capabilities within Navarrian territory.
So the dragons are essentially the kingdom's entire power grid and nuclear deterrent rolled into one biological species.
That's a great way to put it.
Without them, the wards fail, the borders collapse, and Navarre is overrun. But inside the safety of those heavily warded walls, the internal political tension is just as volatile as a griffin attack.
Oh, absolutely.
And that political tension is personified by the towering, heavily scarred third-year wing leader, Zayden Rierson.
Zayden. He rides a notoriously vicious blue dagger-tailed dragon named Scale. But his lethality isn't just a product of his dragon. It is deeply rooted in recent political history.
Right, because of his father.
Yes. Zayden is the son of Fen Rierson, historically known as the Great Betrayer. Fen led the Tirish Rebellion, which was this massive and bloody uprising against the Navarrian crown.
And the general who personally oversaw the execution of Fen Rierson was Violet's mother.
Yeah.
So the bad blood here is institutional. I mean, Zayden looks at Violet like he is mentally calculating the exact amount of force required to snap her neck.
Definitely. And the fallout from that crushed rebellion defines the current social hierarchy within the college. The Navarrian leadership made a highly controversial tactical decision regarding the children of the rebellion's leaders.
They didn't execute them right.
No, they didn't execute the children alongside their parents. Instead, they marked them.
General Melgren's dragon burned magical, swirling marks called rebellion relics into the skin of every traitor's child.
Hmm.
And then, as their official punishment, these marked orphans were forcibly conscripted into the deadly Riders Quadrant.
Now, this raises an important question for us.
Okay.
What does it say about the long-term strategic thinking of the Navarrian leadership? What kind of government forces children to witness the execution of their parents, marks them as a permanent underclass, and then hands them the opportunity to bond with the most destructive weapons on the planet?
It seems like a catastrophic geopolitical blunder. I mean, you are taking highly motivated, deeply traumatized individuals who have a legitimate blood vendetta against the state,
Right.
and you're giving them dragons.
Right.
It's a perfect recipe for breeding a highly trained insurgency from within your own ranks.
It really is. Interestingly, though, the source material notes a fracture in the leadership's ideology regarding this exact policy. Yeah. General Sorrengail, the same woman who ruthlessly forces her own daughter onto the parapet, actually filed an official administrative objection to this punishment.
Wait, really?
Yeah. She argued that no child should be forced to watch their parent be put to death.
Wow. That adds an incredibly complex layer of gray to a character who initially appears to be just a one-dimensional antagonist.
It really does.
She is merciless when it comes to military utility, but she apparently draws a hard ethical line at psychological torture for children.
Yeah, it's a fascinating contradiction.
And this constant friction between political ideology and military reality bleeds right out of the courtyard and into the classroom setting. Because despite the daily threat of death by dragon, these cadets still undergo rigorous academic training.
Most notably, the battle brief.
Right.
The battle brief is the foundational daily class for every cadet. It is co-taught by Professor Navarre, who provides tactical analysis, and Professor Markham, who represents the scribe's historical record.
And what's the goal of that class?
Its main purpose is to keep the cadets continuously updated on the real-time, fluid events of the war they are preparing to fight.
Because in a 400-year war of attrition, cadets might get deployed to the front lines long before graduation.
Exactly.
So during Violet's very first battle brief, the instructors drop a massive piece of classified intel. There was a recent, highly coordinated attack by Poromil forces near a Navarrian border village called Chakir.
They specify that it was an attack by an enemy drift, which is the tactical term for a flight unit of griffins.
Right.
Now, border skirmishes are entirely expected in this conflict. However, the alarming detail discussed in the brief isn't the attack itself, but the specific mechanism of how the enemy breached the border.
The instructors revere that the magical wards, that invisible dragon-powered barrier we talked about, that keeps enemy magic out, inexplicably faltered.
Yes.
The defensive grid dropped along the top of the Espen Mountains, allowing the enemy drift to cross over the border and inflict 37 civilian casualties before Navarrian forces could repel them.
And you have to understand, a failure of the wards is a failure of the state's most critical infrastructure.
It's massive. So what does this all mean? We are looking at an incredibly dense, brutal world where information is strictly controlled and survival seems entirely dependent on aggression.
Right.
We have Violet, a scholar with a physical disability, thrust into an arena designed for apex predators. But when you analyze her journey through this source material, there is a profound takeaway for you, the listener.
Because the overarching lesson here completely transcends the fantasy setting.
Absolutely. If you are navigating a hyper-competitive workplace, a volatile industry, or any system that seems structurally designed to crush you, Violet's survival shows us something vital.
Yeah.
The most rebellious and effective thing you can do isn't to fight a hostile system with brute force. It is to master its rules better than its architects.
Perfectly said.
Violet didn't survive the parapet by magically developing superior balance. She survived by utilizing a deep well of historical data to hack her own nervous system.
Right.
She didn't defeat a sadistic bully by matching his physical strength. She defeated him by weaponizing the bureaucratic rulebook, forcing the system's own laws to protect her. She treats intellect, deep knowledge, and adaptability as kinetic weapons.
She doesn't fight the current, she calculates the fluid dynamics and navigates it using the exact tools she possesses.
Yeah.
It is a masterclass in leveraging intelligence to force a hostile environment to accommodate your survival.
But as she adapts to the environment, it becomes increasingly clear that the environment itself is structurally failing. Yeah. Which brings my mind right back to that deeply unsettling detail from the battle brief regarding the faltering wards.
And on that note, I want to leave you with a final lingering question based on the specific geography the instructors discussed.
Oh, I like where this is going.
So the battle brief stated explicitly that the wards faltered high in the Esmond Mountains, allowing the Griffin Drift to cross. But if we cross-reference that with the broader lore established in the text, griffins being half lion and half eagle chimeras famously lack the lung capacity and aerodynamic profile to handle the thin air of high altitudes.
Right.
They biologically cannot fly up there.
Hold on, really? So if griffins biologically cannot fly at high altitudes, why would an enemy strike force launch an attack over the highest mountain range on the border?
And more importantly, why did the supposedly infallible dragon-powered wards just happen to falter in that exact geographically improbable location?
Well,
What is the Navarrian military leadership actually hiding from these cadets inside the battle brief? Are the dragons secretly losing their magical output, or is the true nature of this 400-year war fundamentally changing in ways the High Command refuses to acknowledge publicly?
That geographical contradiction completely unravels the official narrative we've just spent this entire time analyzing. It really makes you realize that in a society where scribes control the historical record and generals control the military intelligence, the official story is rarely the whole truth. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the systems you are told to trust, because sometimes an acceptance letter to the elite is really just an invitation to uncover the secrets they are willing to kill to protect.